So welcome everyone. Welcome to Theo. So this is my, I have been giving this some thought, and I thought it'd be really good to talk about, to interview some artists I've met through my career. I've been in this industry for 23 years plus, and have decided that I've met some fabulous people. I am very well, Ben. Thank you very much. Jackson Neto, hello. John Wood, hello. So we've decided to start doing these interviews. I'm going to be running them 2-3 times a week. So today, my first one is the lovely Theodore Salisbury. Welcome, Theo. Welcome.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
So Theo is the owner and creator of Exilian Effects. So Theo, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a young artist. I've been working in the industry for about maybe 5 or 6 years now.
So Theo, how old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm 22 years old.
So ladies and gentlemen, a 22-year-old artist who has been in the industry for about 5 years. Very similar to how I was. Okay, carry on.
So yeah, I left school wanting to be an illustrator, and I got into sculpting with my fine art classes at college. Mm-hmm. And within my first year, I felt really inspired by being able to sculpt the things that I would draw. I would create some really fun characters, and it would, that would be my units that I'd base all my work on.
Yeah.
And from that, I got my first job at 17. I was the makeup special effects supervisor for the feature film Dishonored. Mm-hmm. It was a low budget feature film. It wasn't paid at all, and I had to fund all of my my makeups and things for that film. So somehow I had to try and do that. So luckily, I was actually welding at the time. I was a welder at the age of 15.
Wow! Wow! So you started makeup without really having a background in makeup. You just taught yourself a little bit.
I didn't know anybody in the industry, so I didn't know anybody. Didn't know anything. I started learning a couple of little bits from books. Todd Debrasini's book, special effects editions.
And I think that's really important. I think that's really important because not everyone is capable or able to go to college. So at the beginning, you have to kind of learn where you can. Yeah. And obviously progress in the craft. So it's very lovely to hear that you started with no background.
Yeah, it was,
which is great. So then what happened?
So after, I think it was a year of filming this film, it was all with local talent, but I got involved because I saw an advert in a newspaper that was advertising for casting extras. And my girlfriend at the time, she was learning to be an actress, and she'd found this advert, and I thought it'd be fun for both of us to maybe go, and maybe I could bring my portfolio and see if I could get involved being a makeup artist and learning special effects under somebody. And mm-hmm. it got to a point where I was sat here 17 years old, not really knowing what to do. First interview ever. Yeah. The last job that I'd gotten, it was just through family. So I was actually just welding because he was my neighbour. So it was really quite scary. So I brought in this small portfolio, about 15 images of things that I'd made, gelatin effects, all inspired by videos that I saw from Stuart Bray's videos on YouTube. I was learning a little bit from Stan Winston School at the time as well, so I was kind of self-teaching a lot of the techniques because I didn't know anybody and I didn't know anything. So but yeah, what happened was I got involved in the film, and we got to the first week of filming, and we started doing the trailer for the feature film, and the special effects supervisor that I'd met, he was running me through all of the techniques, learning how to do out on the there was set, and I can't remember what happened, but he ended up getting fired, and I replaced this experienced person of 40 years age, had about 15 years of experience in the industry, and this is my first feature film that I'd ever attempted to do and never been on set before. So it was a bit of a
Amazing.
nervous.
No, absolutely. So Theo, so then you decided to go to college.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah,
And
I went
then
to study. I studied art and design at Boston College.
Yep.
In Lincolnshire, and did 2 years there. Did my level 3 diploma, and then moved on to study at the London College of Fashion.
Yep.
I studied there for about 2 years. I failed a year. I was working a lot in London. I made quite a few contacts after making the first film, and I was dropping back quite a lot. I feel, and that's probably because I made myself too busy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I repeated a year and felt like I wasn't being pushed enough, and I left. And I then ended up doing a couple of little films. I did a recent production on a £200 million budget, and that was good. And then yeah, applied to do my master's degree.
So now you're doing your master's where?
I'm doing that at CMS, Creative Media Skills, Time Studios.
So this is a new master's that's running at the moment. So interestingly, so you haven't, like a lot of I guess, like in this career, there's not a natural progression for everyone. Unlike when I trained, and a lot of the I saw Barry Gower join the call a minute ago, and people like Sean Harrison, Barry Gower, Christian Mullet, Adrian Rigby, etc. Most of us trained in a very different way, or didn't train. I mean, I obviously, as you all know, I came through the theatre industry. Krylan at the beginning of the Operastadt in Berlin. I did a work experience there. I did lots of bits and pieces, and I ended up being mentored by the Royal Opera House ex-head of Wigs and Makeup. But I think those days were very different. We're talking 20+ years ago, when now college it's a new thing. It's essential in a way.
Exactly.
Would you say that the masters is pushing you in the right direction?
Yeah, I think the degree has really helped, because I'm able to sit down in a very small group of people and learn concentrated versions of sculpting, mold making, makeup design.
So you're still always learning. You're still always perfecting yourself. You kind of you're constantly sort of self-assessing, if you know what I mean.
Of course, yeah, exactly. I mean, these are all industry practitioners that have been in the industry for 30 years. I learned from John Cormacan, who's the best sculptor I've ever met. He's so lovely as well, and he can sit down and he can show you how to sculpt something, and you would instantly be learning. It's not just being able to be, sits next to someone that knows how to sculpt and can just do it in front of you, but he takes you through how to do it, why to do it, what temperature to put it down at. You're learning everything.
So where I guess this is a loaded question. Where do you see yourself in, say, 20 years?
Well, where I'd like to see myself in 20 years would be, I wouldn't say, being an award-winning whatever, sitting with a throne of awards. And, I just want to be, a makeup designer. I want to be that person that has a team that feels reliable, having a reliable company, being able to work with a team that feels like they want to be there. And I feel, at my element when I've got a script in my hand and I'm able to read and decipher what a character looks like and be able to translate that to movie.
So interestingly enough, you mentioned scripts. Obviously, you've gone down the TV movie route. And what's the reason for that? Why sort of that? As we know, there's many routes, and why for you TV and film?
I grew up doing theatre. I mean, I learned how to act, learned how to dance. I did jazz dance, and I did my lambdas before I'd moved up to Lincolnshire, which is about 15 years ago now. So I've always had like a small theatre background. I did stage combat. I know Robbie's watching. I did stage combat at school with this guy. And yeah, it was something that I've always been interested in. But I think because I grew up watching videotapes and Star Wars, I had the whole Star Wars collection donated to me. so I could watch them, and that was what got me,
Yep.
you know, my sort of freaky sci-fi type personality that I've got now.
Well, I mean, you know, I think it's very different because, you know, you grow up, I mean, I grew up in a theatre environment. I came into film, I guess, late. But, you know, I mean, we've got common friends like Thomas Supernant and Donald Mowat. And Thomas, I know, used to follow my work in the 90s where,
Yeah.
you know, social media wasn't there. And I think the world has changed so much. And I think, do you think as a young artist yourself, it's good to have a very much set goal direction, or do you think it's better, would you keep an open mind? Because I know film TV MUAs tend to be very much film TV.
It's a good question. I mean, everybody has their own they have their own vision, they have their own style. I'm inspired by a lot of different artists. I mean, I've got Liechtenstein books and things like that I'm looking through at the moment because I'm looking through a movie that I'm doing. But it's, you know, we all take inspiration from different people and different backgrounds, different styles. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily all about theatre or it's all about movies and it's all about, because I've done operas before. I've done operas with you. I've done things, you know. But I think my chosen path is film just because I feel more comfortable that way. I don't know, it's a comfortability thing, I suppose. I enjoy the liveliness of theatre, but I also feel like I enjoy the process of working on a feature film more.
Yeah,
but doesn't mean that, you know, you should learn how to do one thing.
And that's very much your medium, and I think that what we're saying from this call, and I think it's a very big note to anyone watching, is that whatever medium you end up choosing, you should be very comfortable with that medium.
Yeah.
We know that theatre will teach you speed, but it may not teach you the attention to detail that you require on a close-up camera angle. So, you know, there are pros and cons. So I guess what I want to now talk about is, you know, you are 22 years old. You've been in the industry 5 years or so. Talk to me about how Exilian happened and what is Exilian for those people that may not know. And the biggest question that everyone's asking, why does a 22-year-old feel they can set up a company? And what does it offer? Because I know what it offers, but I think it'd be very useful for viewers to know what it's about.
Yeah. Well, it started off as just a portfolio page. I had a Facebook page, 16, 17, and it grew into something that it was nice to be recognized as a makeup artist just for the name. But the reason why I decided to go for a different name and business is because I don't want to end up with that massive name where you get stopped at events all the time, you know. And I know quite a lot of people that are, you know, really high up in their industries, and they get, you know, a lot of messages all the time about certain particular things, and I'd rather just get an email to my business. And that was something that appealed to me a lot more. I didn't really want to be that guy that was the name.
The fame and glory does not attract.
Yeah, but I think that's also an anxiety of mine because I was really heavily bullied at school because of my dyslexia and my dyspraxia. And that's another reason why I named the studio Exilian, is because it's different and it's kind of almost banished from being the norm. So it was based on the word exile, which is what I kind of felt. So it's a kind of a bit of an edgy idea, but its name stuck, and yeah, it's easy to spell and recognize. So I think it just worked, and I've just been rolling with it. But
so to recap for people watching, Exilian came about because of anxiety, dyspraxia, dyslexia, wanting to hide behind, not hide, but be protected by something else.
It was my barrier. Yeah.
So it started off as a portfolio, like a lot of us have started at the beginning. I mean, we didn't have digital portfolios. I used to carry in fact, I've got it here in the office. I used to carry my book of my printed portfolios. And then, so it was very much you and your work. But then it's grown into something very different, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's become much more than I ever thought it would have been in the last few years. I mean, you know, it's something that I've wanted to achieve for a long time. But it wasn't exactly the same pathway that I thought it was going to go.
Okay. So what is it now?
So now it is a company that supplies hair, makeup, and prosthetics for various companies. We have got 11 partners, all dotted around Europe. So we supply a lot of films. We've got working on a new feature film in Romania and Sweden. But what we also do is we supply makeup artists that are in training. We have a mentorship program that works with working experiences, and for people who have never worked on a film set, that have very high potential, that learn how to body paint, that learn how to do things, and have the motivation because they picked up the pen at 4 and wanted to start drawing and be creative. It's something that I enjoy seeing, but I don't limit myself in terms of the personality of the people that are in the group or the people that are part of our business, because I really appreciate the different thought path of disability as well. So we have quite a lot of dyslexics in our group. We also have some people with mild autism, and it's nice to be able to bring people in and work. We had a couple of girls come and work with us for a few adverts at Sony. They've never touched the film set before. They've never been in a studio. They've never seen green screen. And it was really nice to bring people in that I knew wanted to be there, but I knew could do it. And they just needed to be shown how to do it at the right time. And now they're going off doing their own feature films and recommending people and becoming makeup designers themselves, which is something that they never thought they could be doing.
So obviously the word designer would be traditionally applied to someone that is of a certain age, maybe my age. How do you, I guess, validate yourself saying you can design at such a young age?
I wouldn't necessarily, age should ever be a thing.
I agree. I very much agree. I'm by the way, this question is directed to, I agree with the fact that age is not relevant to
I agree
aptitude.
I agree with the mature-minded, coming on set and not mucking around and doing your job. That's going to stop business if you don't do that, and it's going to make you look bad. But age should never be a factor in consideration, and neither should disability. And that's where I want to try and I
think that's very important, because not a lot of companies will shy away from makeup artists with employees with disabilities, but they shouldn't. Especially makeup and disability has always been a bit of a taboo. I mean, I remember back in the day of the Opera House, I remember having makeup artists essentially being told to go home because they couldn't do their job in the way that people expect.
Even if it's a language barrier. I mean, we had somebody who was sent back to do, from a different production. We didn't put them on the production, but we heard back from a story from a makeup designer to say that, because you don't speak English properly, we're letting you go. Which is not acceptable. Which is not acceptable. And they hired them to do the wrong job in the first place. So but that's down to who it is that's hiring. That are they mature enough to hire that person? Do they have the experience to do that, and do they know how to organize a team well enough to understand that maybe they do have a language barrier, and if so, how are you going to treat it? I had a translator in Brazil. I had a whole team of Portuguese, Brazilian, tribal artists that had never, experienced anything like what we do in the UK. But I was the makeup designer, and I had to lead a team that didn't speak a word of English. So we know you've worked on some big productions with some very big artists. I mean, the designer June designed by Donald Mowat. Obviously, I've worked with you. I've employed you as a makeup artist. You've employed me as a makeup artist. You are very happy to kind of cross go up and down the hierarchy depending. How did you find working in someone else's team who's essentially, quite a big name in the industry? I enjoy it. I'm open to ideas, and I'm open to working with people. It's not something that I'm gonna say no.
No.
Because I'm not this key makeup artist, or I'm not, this name. The thing is, you do this job because you enjoy making art, and if you're not going to enjoy making other people's art, and you're not going to appreciate other people's art, what's the point?
Yep.
I understand, maybe you might have a priority in your work because you enjoy being somebody recognized just for your originality, but understanding a new technique and understanding somebody else's design can open up a whole lot of new pathways of inspiration.
I mean, I'm like you. I've joined teams. I've led teams a lot, and I've joined a lot of teams. So I'm very much happy to kind of go around the pecking order, if you know what I mean. So,
exactly.
So what advice would you give a young artist that wants to enter this industry? Not the training side, because we know, and I just want to put this out for anyone wondering, Exilian does not train artists as such. You don't run courses, do you?
No.
No.
We are in partnership with Seventa Makeup Academy, and you can teach with,
yes.
With our partnership, but we don't teach. I don't teach.
No. So what? Just so for people watching, what happens is if you learn a course in Seventa, we then connect you with a young artist scheme that Exilian has for work experience, essentially. So you provide that kind of work experience. So what would you say to a young artist now coming into the industry, 16, 17 years old? What advice would you give them based on your own experiences? And I will say this, that, your experiences grow with age. If I were to ask you this question in 20 years' time, your answer would probably be very different, as would be mine in 20 years' time, when I'm in my 60s.
Yeah, very much
so. What advice would you give them? I know it's scary.
I would just say, don't limit yourself. You don't know what you're capable of doing. I didn't like sculpture at the very beginning of learning at art and design. I thought it was a waste of time, but coming from an illustration background and then actually learning the basic techniques of painting and sculpting and then matching that into character design is what put me where I am today and made me happy enough to create what I want to create, but also learn. But I would say just learn whatever you want to. If it's something like leather crafting, or if it's something that is something that's completely different that isn't to do with makeup, you can still incorporate those techniques. I use some leather making tools in my arsenal set for sculpting with to create textures. It's something that you learn about, but you don't think about until you've learned that skill or you've heard about it. Even crocheting, you can crochet a beard to make it look like a beard.
I love a crochet needle. A crochet needle is great for sculpting. Yeah,
exactly.
So Kelly Taylor says hello, lovely to see you. It's so lovely when makeup artists that we know join these chats, because we can have it's a bit of a I call it a digital coffee and cake. We kind of have a little lovely talk.
Nice.
So a question I always get asked, and I'm sure you get asked as well, what are your favorite products? What are your favorite brands? So let's just, that's a huge arsenal of questions. But if we say, what are your favorite, let's go down to our favorite. Didn't mention my, oh, I'm so sorry, Robert. What was your comment? I must have missed it. Robert gave us a wave. I didn't see your comment, Robert. I'm so sorry. Could you please post your comment again? So what are your favorite palettes? There you go. Alcohol palettes. What are your favorites?
Alcohol palettes. I'm a big fan of PPI.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just the sheer scale of the colors that they have there and the way that they work for me is something. The first palette I bought was one of the PPI special effects makeup palettes. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember it had all the primary colors in and it had a blood color. But yeah, that was the first thing I ever picked up and used. So I think because I'd learned how to use that palette, I think it's become a bit of a go-to now, because I know the product and I feel like I can just go and use it every time and not get it wrong. But mixing up between Kryolan or Bluebird Is it Bluebird? It's Bluebird,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Bluebird
Bluebird or Dashbow. You know, sometimes I find that I can't quite use those colours the same way that I could with the PPI. I know there's some colours that I quite like in particular palettes as well from different brands that PPI don't quite do. So I do have a bit of a mix, just because I've picked up different products or I've been, you know, sent products, or even given them from demos. So I've been able to learn how to use them. I do quite like the there was a dirt palette. You know what it is.
Would you mean the Pam one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've
which is I
can't remember.
It's a grease paint one, similar to the Mac Pro one. I know one. Yes. So
no. It's a different one that they've recently installed. It's a new brand that's come up that's making alcohol based palettes.
Not sure.
I can't remember. I'll find it.
But interesting, because you see, my sort of go-tos would be Kryolan, alcohol, Dashbow, just because I love their formulation, and actually Ripper Effects. They're kind of my go-to.
Those are the ones.
Those are the ones you were talking about. Yeah. So I use Ripper quite a lot. I find them Ripper Street. Yeah, Ripper Effects, Ripper Street. Ripper is really good because I find their formulation really lovely and very rich. Dashbow I love because it's UK made, and I'm a big supporter of UK business. Okay, so that's palettes. So for those of you watching, by the way, Roberto, I didn't mean to call you Robert, it was Roberto. So apologies for that. So brushes, this is a question that we get asked all the time. You get asked, I get asked, all makeup artists. What are your favorite brushes? Now, you know, I only work with a personal favorite brand, and I know you like them and work with them as well. So can we talk about this brand a little bit?
Yeah, Delium Tools, they're a fantastic brand. I've never used anything that's quite like it, because they're designed by Thomas Supranant. The special effects brush range are, and that's what I use mostly for special effects. But obviously they also have their own beauty sets, which is what I love to use when working in studio for skin. But they're all designed by makeup artists that learn specific techniques and skills. They learn how to place color in a sporadic motion or in a particular line motion. They've really done their research in terms of placement of color and translucency as well. So, you know, and they've even done different sizes for speed as well.
And as you can see, I've got them there on top of my cupboard. My stay at home. All my brushes are unfortunately at the Academy in Soho, at Seventa. So I've got my little set of there.
I think they're fantastic because they've been made in a way that they're almost indestructible. They did change their crimping system. I was speaking to Edward about this about a couple of years ago, but they've switched over to using more epoxy methods to keep their brushes attached. So it is a little bit it's easier to work with acetones and alcohols, and
I totally love their brushes, and you can put them through their paces. Now, but the big thing about brushes and products, these things are expensive. So I always have like my sort of go 3 things that a young artist should get. What would your top 3 things, based that you have a limited budget, if you were starting, what 3 things would you get?
As a makeup artist,
as a young makeup artist. as a young artist going into effects, let's not do prosthetics, but going into effects,
right? A reference book. I would say definitely get hold of Todd Debrasini's books. If you can get all 3, get all 3. If you can get one, get the first one, because at the moment, you don't really need to worry about technology and 3D printing. You need to focus on the basic techniques.
Absolutely.
So learning from textbooks like that, I'd probably say get 2 textbooks and then just get some palettes, some basic palettes, like maybe even just the small kit ones of the Bluebird, or you could even get the Dashbow because they're very cheap and they're very nice to work with when you're learning. So I would suggest just to get those 2, but I'd say get 2 books, a brush set, and maybe an alcohol palette. And if you're lucky and your parents are nice, get hold of a Meron bruise wheel.
Well, I mean, I always say to my students, you know, if you can't afford an alcohol palette at the beginning, with a Bruce wheel, you can dilute the cream with alcohol and you get a very similar build.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, painting with alcohol is like painting in aqua color. You build the layers. Have you done aqua color painting?
Yeah, I've done I did quite a few.
Oh, you did art, didn't you?
Pride in London, yeah.
Yeah.
Did a Darth Maul once. We did a character from Dragon Ball Z. I remember doing. We did quite.
Oh no, what I meant is, have you done aqua colors, as in painting aqua colors, as in painting canvas?
Oh, on canvas.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done quite a lot of that at college, but I haven't really expanded myself to go back out and do that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, but I used a lot of water-based colors. Doing canvas painting. That was something that got me into painting in the first place. That was one of the first things I actually did. That got me into college.
Fabulous. So we're now in a position that you, Theo, you've set up this mentorship program. Now, what I find very interesting, and one of the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that I have supported Theo for a very long time, is that you are young, you are experienced, but you do listen, and you're very humble to advice. Now, I've given you advice and I've taken advice, so you know, so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So I'd like to touch on your current venture, which I have added some artists to, which is your talks.
Yes.
Because that's something that, you know, so for those watching, Exilian is not just there to provide direct, you know, you may be working with me, you may be working with Theo, you may be working with another senior artist, but actually these talks with big names, which we will talk about in a minute, you've set up this sort of schedule of talks, and due to the current situation, it's sort of, you know, Zoom interviews. What can you talk about that?
Yeah. So with obviously the COVID situation, we thought that we want to try and help expand education, and because we've got a lot of members with our group, we're trying to expand to 50 now. I started the program last year in February, and I think we only had about 13.
Yeah, it was about that, wasn't it?
Something like that. So what we wanted to try and do, well, what I wanted to try and do is trying to expand the knowledge of how to work with different departments in the industry on set, on either whether it's for commercials, television, or the film industry. We're also doing some bits to do with theatre as well. But we want to learn from all different departments. It's really nice that we're getting all of these fantastic talks from the Makeup Armory, with the best in the world to do with the practitioner of makeup design and makeup effects and everything to do with makeup. But what we're not talking about is how to work with an actor, how to work with a director, how to work with a cinematographer, how to work with sound tech. You know, these are very important skills, and you need to learn about color theory when you're working with post-production and you're working with a camera cinematographer. So what we're doing is we're getting all of these groups of people that I've worked with to speak about their particular practitioner, give examples of past films that we've worked with, so then that way we can use, you know, an image to describe what it is that we're talking about. Yeah.
And I think it's very important, like you say. I think sometimes departments can be very insular, and I think what you're trying to do is trying to show, as you say, practice. You know, Julia Townsend has done an amazing set of talks with artists, so have the Armory, etc., etc. But I think, as you so have Pam. But I think it's very important to mix all these, you know, mix sound, mix cinematography, mix acting itself, because you are going to be working with these people one way or another. And I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I've been watching some of the talks and participating. And I think for any of you watching, if you're a young artist, I think it's very important to affiliate yourself with a mentorship program that allows this. So Theo, so where we are with you at the moment is you've got the Exilian going. You've just now I worked with you as your key makeup artist in a movie recently. Can you talk about that one?
Yeah, it's a feature film called Creatures. It was a low budget film. I think it was 200,000.
Yeah, it was about that, wasn't it?
Yeah. yeah, it was an interesting one. I've spent 8 months working, designing, and then obviously we had a month of filming to make the whole film. And the trailer was released just this. I think it was this week. It was on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday.
So yeah, what is it you want to talk about?
So very important. What I was going to say is that
we've got our own disclosures. So
you obviously brought in the trainees, didn't you, into the fold of it a bit? That's what I was trying to allude to.
Right. Okay. So with our mentorship program and Exilium Pro, what we're doing is we're bringing all these new artists that are coming out of college or even just school. You know, if you're old enough to pick up a brush and you want to learn how to do something and you want to create some really cool effects, or you want to learn how to sculpt or make molds, what we've done is when we get a project in, we have an online system that says, here's all the list of jobs that we have available, and all of the mentorees that we have, they all subscribe and, you know, say which department they want to go into, whether it's hair, makeup, prosthetics, sculpting, mold making, animatronics, 3D printing, 3D tech design. You know, we have everything. So it's really nice that we can get lots of different students to learn how to do something, learn something new. You know, if you're a sculptor but you want to learn how to make a wig cage, you know, just say that you're interested in doing it, and we will try our best to put you with somebody that, you know, knows how to work with those types of skills and put you on that set. We had, I think it was 11 film crew. They're all makeup artists that are all to do with our program. And we had bookkeepers, we had sculptors, mold makers. We had Gloria come in. She did some life casting. We did full body life casts. Animatronics. We had my friend Alex Wilson also helping with 3D design, 3D printing. I do a lot of 3D printing myself. We have 5 3D printers in the studio, so it's really useful. But we were also working with the designer of Groot, Paul Nelson, who's an absolutely phenomenal artist. So it was really lovely to work with him and a company in Switzerland, Stitches and Glue, to create some of the puppeteered characters as well. So we ended up taking control of creating the stunt puppets. Yeah. So, you know, it's a very big group of people that are learning. Yeah.
And I think what I was trying to show to people is that, you know, Exilium is more than the sum of its parts. You know, it's not just, it's moved from your own personal portfolio to very much providing a traineeship for artists who may be disadvantaged due to disability, or young artists who don't have a way in, because we know finding a way into the TV and film industry is difficult. Yeah, I myself mentored some artists during the filming. We did whilst you were on set, we were supervising in the studio. We did a bit of casting, we did a bit of mold making, we did a bit of this and that. We know Morgan, who I think is on the call, joined us to do a bit of sculpting. And Morgan is an award-winning hairstylist and makeup artist, but she's kind of delving into sculpting now.
This is the thing as well, because we've got our own mini network. We've got amazing artists like Morgan, who is a colour technician in hair, and she also has, you know, amazing skills in hairstyling. But we're also setting up her to do classes to teach the artists that don't have hair skills within the group to learn how to do hair. So it's something that we're able to do as a community within our business, but it helps everything flow, spin. It just it works really well. And it saves production a lot of money, especially if you're working in industry budget, you know, in independent budget movies, because you're not paying £400 day rates. You're not paying £600 day rates.
Well, you can't, unfortunately. You know, those movies just don't have that type of money. Yeah,
exactly. So it saves a lot of money, and you can bring in people that have learned how to do this, and they, you know, the program's a year long. You can, and if you decide that you want to stay, you can stay for an extra year, just because, you know, maybe you don't feel confident enough, or you want to learn a new skill. You can stay, and the people that do leave, they've come up to do amazing things. We've had Charlotte Knight. She's a makeup artist. I met her at Peterborough Comic Con about 2-3 years ago, and she got into university a year early. She's done about 5 adverts for Sony Movie Channel, Movies for Men. You know, she's done 3 full-length feature films, and she ended up being a key makeup artist in replacement to fill in for me on a feature film before I went off to Hungary. So, you know, we supply really high experience to prep you to go on to work for people like Barry Gower or David Malansky or you know, Sean Richards.
Now, obviously, you will work with people that might get, you know, that have a lot more experience in some fields than you, and you don't have a problem with that, which is great. And I think it's very important, I think, for people to realize that, you know, one of the reasons people ask me why I became involved is that I like to support young talent, and I've you know, been a tutor for many years, I do. But I think what you've created is it's a hub for young talent, and I don't mean young in age, I mean in industry talent.
That's what
that people can go there and kind of hone their skills, and you give them the opportunities that you can. You know, the industry is saturated at the moment with artists trying to find work, and I think what you give them is a fantastic outlet. So for our sort of closing remarks for today, it's been so lovely talking to you. And I saw one of the comments saying someone said, Iggy said, it's lovely sitting here. We're just like chatting over the lunch table. And this is exactly what this is about. It's just a lovely talk. And so you've got, what would you now say? So Exilian has changed, you've changed. What would you say to someone? What would the sort of top 3 things that you would say to someone coming in, looking at Exilian? What is Exilian? Top 3.
So Exilian is a company that provides hair, makeup, and prosthetics, and makeup artists to production.
That's one.
We have a mentorship program that we run for free, and we obviously teach a variable amount.
Well, you don't teach, you coach, you mentor, mentor.
That's where I'm aiming.
Yes, don't worry.
Yeah.
And I would say, I mean, if I may add the top 3, I think Exilian is a creative hub. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, I'm not a young artist, alas. I wish I were. Do you know what? I wish I were coming into the industry now. Well, actually, no, I don't, because there's too much competition now. But, you know, I wish things are very different. The opportunities that you guys have now are very different to what I had. And however, there are different challenges. You know, the life at the moment is dominated by social media. And actually, that in itself can add to bullying and harassment and anxiety. And I think the third point that I would say, I mean, Morgan just said it's an amazing mentorship to be part of. And I agree. You've created a hub. It's a safe space for people to network, for people to air ideas, but also for people to try things out. Because, you know, we all make mistakes. And I think what you've created, as well as you have your professional branch, which is you bring the contacts into farm teams out. I think you do allow people to try in a place that they won't be as judged as if they were in a public environment.
Yeah, that's what we aim to do. We want to be that sort of middle ground where you're getting enough experience to go off to do higher industry jobs that will take you at millennium effects. You know, it will teach you how to do workshop techniques. We're not the company that you want to come and work on for Star Wars. That's not what we've aimed to do, because we don't have that. That's not what. That's. But
also, that's not that. You know, you're a grassroots organization. You are very much driven from a personal experience. You know, you said yourself you were bullied, harassed at school, which means you wanted to create a safe space for you. And then that safe space has become a safe space for others.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone looking at Exilian, if you're looking, if you know artists that need a safe space to network and hone their skills before they hit the big boys, as I call them, or big girls, big people, then I think Exilian is really good. We haven't seen, I'm just checking if I've missed any questions. I don't think I have. I think the only question I'm going to ask you is, top 3. I know you've said Tom de Brosini, but top 3 books.
Top 3 books. Actually, I've got a pile of them here.
3, not a pile.
Yeah, that's true. I would say, all right, okay, here we go.
By the way, guys, whilst Theo's looking for his top 3 books, if you have questions, please ask away. This video will be available. It's going to be shared by Seventa Makeup Academy. For those of you that don't know, I'm the head of special effects makeup at Seventa. I teach all of the makeup courses with regards to special effects, and they are beginners courses. So again, we're not there to teach you how to be the next Star Wars designer. I would take Seventa artists. I would recommend them to go and study with Neil or Sean Harrison, etc., etc. So top 3 books, Theo.
So top 3, Tobler de Brosini's Special Makeup Effects.
And that's this one's
this is the first edition.
First edition, number 1. Yes.
I've had this book for many a year, and it has all kinds of clay and foam latex all over it. But it's a Bible. This is the one thing that you need to get into the industry. It's helped thousands of people.
So that's number 1. Number 2.
Another one that I quite like is Living Anatomy.
Yeah.
This is all sort of, I don't know if I'm allowed to show this on here, but it's, oh, there we go. That's a comfortable page. I'll cover that. But, you know, it's all anatomy.
Yeah, well, it's an anatomy. I mean, it is an anatomy. It's an anatomy book. It is what it is.
I know.
You know, let's not skirt around it. Anatomy is anatomy. Yeah, so, beautiful.
Yeah, this is great for reference for sculpting.
Now that book I think was published. Looks like I think it was published in the 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
It was published 1947.
Oh, there we go. So
47.
Nearly the 50s. I was right. Yeah.
Yeah. I do quite like photography books as well. Man Ray is quite an interesting one. Yeah.
Okay, so Theo's top picks are Tom de Brosini's book, the Living Anatomy book, and the Photography Man Ray for inspiration. Fantastic.
You can get some really decent portraits as well. So this will help you with makeup design and looking at anatomy, understanding fashion and identity. You know, reading books like this as well will help you understand an awareness of identity and culture and history.
Fabulous. Well, look, Theo, it's been so lovely. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I hope for those of you watching, you've now got an insight into what Theo is about and what Exilien's about. If you're a young artist and you're interested in the program, it's available from your website. Is that correct, Theo?
Yeah. So you go on to exilianstudiosofficial.com. That's EXILIAN studiosofficial.com, and you on the side you'll see log in and sign up. If you're interested, then just send in an email, and we'll we're taking quite a lot of people in this year because we've had the COVID situation, and I know that not enough people are working, not enough people are learning from institutions, and I think this will be great for you.
Do people need to send you a portfolio?
Portfolio is preferable, yes. We've accepted some Instagram accounts, but we prefer to have a digital portfolio.
Yeah. So guys, digital portfolio, go to Theo's website, Exilian Official, Exilian Studio, what's it?
ExilianStudiosOfficial.com.
ExilianStudiosOfficial.com. This video will be available from the Seventa Makeup Academy YouTube very shortly. So we will also post the links to the Theo's page. We'll also post the links to the books recommended and also Theo's top 3 products that we talked about. Theo's been so lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone watching. And keep watching because I've got more talks. I've got, who have I got coming up? I've got the creative director from Seventa. I've got, hopefully if I can schedule it, I've got Z Brothers. I've got a very, very reputable crowd makeup artist coming on. I've got Paul Schilling. I've got Olivia Gerard. I've got a very, very personal contact of mine, who's my cousin, who's a VFX animator. And he's worked on Lion King, he's worked on Cats, etc. So keep watching. Thank you, Theo. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.